So if there's one topic that Preetam and I love discussing even off camera is adventure bikes, because he owns one. I own a motorcycle which is half adventure bike and I have the long-term Himalayan. So that's what we talk about most of the times. Again, this is a segment that will be talking about the best budget adventure bikes. But before that, we welcome you to the Car and Bike podcast. This is Preetam and Kingshuk, and today it's going to be a rather exciting segment on adventure bikes, budget adventure bikes. So, Preetam, why don't you start off?
Of course, adventure bikes, all the flavor, you may think it's a cliche because we talk so much about adventure bikes, but it's like the passenger car segment, like the SUVs have taken off of late.
Right.
Adventure bikes are all the flavor currently, and it's going to become even more flavorful coming in the coming years. Gone are the days of the cruisers. The interest has waned off.
Sure.
Sport bikes, yeah, still there's a lot of interest, but a lot of people who want just one bike in their garage are discovering the merits of having an adventure tourer rather than a sport bike, because a lot of people think even if they don't go out on a long ride, I think I need a bike which is comfortable, which I'll make that long trip once in a while. And some people who have gone on to buy, I have a friend who wanted to buy a full-fared entry-level sport bike, but
Right.
he ended up buying an entry-level adventure bike. Why? Because he wanted to go on long rides. He thought the adventure bike, and it's, so to say, it's his first bike, and he's already started going on weekend rides.
Right.
I mean,
Fantastic.
for 300, 400 kilometers, every other weekend he started riding.
That's nice.
So, like the SUVs that has taken over the passenger car market by storm, or rather the crossovers as I call them, not SUVs. To me, the SUVs are the full hardcore 4x4s. The
Right.
crossovers, which have higher ground clearance, you can go over the rough stuff and you can take on bad roads, the potholes. So we have a lot of adventure bikes like that, with or without proper off-road capability. We'll discuss all those. And if you're in a budget and your budget is less than 5 lakhs, what are the adventure bikes and what can you choose and what are those bikes capable of and what are the pros and cons of each bike? That's what we intend to do. As always, let us know your thoughts at the end of the video, what you think is your pick or are your choices in the best adventure bike. So Kingshuk, shall we start from the smallest rather, or
Right.
the most least expensive?
Sure, absolutely. And the name that comes to mind is the Hero Xpulse 200 4V. Now, it is a 200cc motorcycle, and it is lightweight. And if you want to get into off-road riding, I think that's the best motorcycle that you can buy. If you drop it, it's easy to fix. Being a Hero, it has decent, reliable quality, and there's a Hero dealership, I'm sure, within 5 kilometers of where you stay, because the network is so widespread. So the Hero Xpulse 200 4V, and in case you are really into off-road riding, you also have the Pro variant. So what do you think
Yeah,
of the
the Xpulse 200 4V is the perfect adventure bike for beginner riders or newbie riders, or even as your first adventure bike. If you haven't really had too much exposure to motorcycles and you want to start riding long distance or riding off-road or going on adventures, really two-wheel adventures, the Xpulse 200 4V makes for a fantastic case. In fact, a cousin of mine recently bought a Xpulse 200. It's his first bike, I think.
Right.
And he's in Assam, of course. He's already done a trip to Arunachal, which is like 400 kilometers to the easternmost part of Arunachal.
Right.
So if you're starting off riding, you want to up your game in the two-wheel ecosystem, and you want to explore and have some two-wheel adventures. The Hero Xpulse 200 4V is light, easy to handle, not very powerful, it'll scare you, and decent enough touring capability. Not great touring capability, but decent enough for our kind of highways, and a good cruising speed of 70-80 kilometers per hour. So Kingshuk, what are the pros and cons of the Xpulse 200 really?
Oh, I think like you said, lightweight, easy to manage. The power doesn't scare you silly. These are some of the pros, and easy to fix and own as well. And if you look at the cons,
I'll add one more pro to it.
Sure.
Great off-road capability. If you want to
Oh, yes,
do
absolutely.
off-road riding, hardcore off-road riding, the Xpulse 200 is a great starting point. It's like learning the ABCs of off-road riding. The Xpulse 200 should be your pick.
And if you want to get the Pro variant, you get a taller seat, more suspension travel, better ground clearance, and the list goes on. And it's a motorcycle that can easily accommodate quite a few modifications as well.
Correct.
So, if you get the Xpulse and if you really want to, build it up yourself, that's again an option. And the cons would be that it could have done with maybe another 5 odd bhp of power. If you are looking for a motorcycle that can do mile trails, hardcore off-roading and daily commutes as well, then the Xpulse makes a lot of sense. But if you're somebody who likes to go on long road trips with the motorcycle, then all you need is a little patience, because you'll take some time getting to wherever you want to go.
So for me, the cons is the engine could have been slightly more refined, gear shifts could have been slightly more refined, top end performance could have been more, acceleration could have been slightly more punchier. So those are the cons. But if you're a newbie rider, the pros rather outweigh the cons of the Xpulse 200. So fantastic proposition in that price bracket
100%.
and in that segment.
And it costs just 1.5 lakhs ex showroom. So this is the most affordable adventure bike that you can buy in India right now.
So next up, going up from 200cc, we have a very good and very capable all-around adventure touring motorcycle. In fact, it was the car and bike of the year in 2023.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's the Suzuki V-Strom SX, 250cc V-Strom. So what's been your experience like? You've done a first ride which has involved a lot of riding, right?
Oh yes, absolutely. In fact, when the press ride of the Suzuki V-Strom SX happened, we were riding the motorcycle in the hinterlands. We were riding it in Madhya Pradesh, not known for its fantastic roads. We got a great mix of roads, some really fast flowing highways, some bad broken patches of road, and your B roads, Kacha Pakka roads. And the Suzuki V-Strom SX, I mean, it's a great touring motorcycle. It's of course built on the same Gixxer 250 platform. The engine is really refined, and you can do 100 kilometers per hour all day long. You sit tall on the bike, the view is really nice, and yes, it's not a hardcore off-road bike. It gets alloy wheels, of course, with a 19-inch front, and if you want to cover long distances comfortably, the V-Strom SX is a fantastic bike.
Yeah, so the V-Strom SX, the 250cc V-Strom is a crossover. I'd call it a crossover and not really a adventure bike. So yeah, it looks like a proper adventure bike, but it's a road bike on stilts, so it's got more ground clearance than the Gixxer 250 it's based on. It can do fair bit of bad road riding, and like Kingshuk said, if you're into long distance riding, you start off riding long distance. It's got a great riding position. You sit upright, have a good view of the road ahead, and superb engine really. The engine is very tractable. You can sit at 100 all day long, and you can go up to about 130, 135. So the pros, it's a substantial looking bike despite a 250cc engine.
Right.
The bike looks quite big and substantial, so good looking bike there. Great all-round handling and dynamics and performance, so those are the pros. And thirdly, not very expensive also. What are the price points? Suzuki is around...
It's around
2
lakh
Yeah.
16,000, somewhere around that.
Yeah, so that's the price point. And on the cons, the engine, there's a vibey spot in the middle somewhere. So you would feel some vibes. It's a single cylinder engine, of course. Every single cylinder will have vibey spots here and there. If you're expecting super slick refinement from an engine, single cylinder engine, then you may be disappointed with any single cylinder bike. There will be minor buzz somewhere in that rev range, but it's not something which will make you feel that the engine will fall apart, or it's like really crude and
Absolutely.
trashy. So overall, the V-Strom, again, I'm reiterating the fact that it went on to win the 2023 car and bike overall bike of the year. So our jury has been pretty impressed with the V-Strom SX, and it continues to be one of the best adventure touring bikes on a budget right now.
Right. So up next we have two motorcycles in the 300cc adventure bike segment. The first is the BMW G310 GS, and the second is the Yezdi Adventure. Very different flavors, and we'll talk about the baby GS first. Preetam, your thoughts?
Yeah, the GS of course looks fantastic, and if you're the kind of guy who goes by branded stuff, you want branded clothes, branded jeans, branded sneakers, then a BMW brand will certainly appeal to you. But I'm not that kind of guy, so I look at the product and the capability and the brand. But nevertheless, the made in India BMW G310 GS, same platform as the TVS 310s and the other BMW G310Rs. The GS is a decent enough adventure touring motorcycle. So long travel suspension,
Right.
big wheels, and substantial looking bike again, and great fit and finish. And if you want to start off riding long distance and want a light enough bike and not very powerful, which is intimidating,
Right.
then the GS certainly ups the game slightly more than the V-Strom SX.
For sure, for sure. It has that slightly more zing and punch in the performance. The only con being the fact that the engine is vibey. I won't say slightly vibey. The engine is vibey. The vibrations could have been handled better by you know BMW and TVS, because TVS manufactures these motorcycles for BMW. So overall fit and finish fantastic, long distance capability really good. Not an hardcore off-road motorcycle, because it does get alloy wheels and not spokes. Again, a 19-inch up front.
19-inch up front, if I'm
That's
not
right.
mistaken.
So it's a bike that has really good premium appeal, well finished, and it could be yours for around 3 lakh 30,000.
Right.
So slightly on the expensive side, but still well within 4 lakh rupees ex showroom.
And what about the Yezdi Adventure? You've extensively ridden it, of
Oh
course.
yes, the Yezdi Adventure, and anybody who asks me about Yezdi Adventure, to them I say that in case you are looking for a Royal Enfield Himalayan 411, because it has been discontinued, you can always buy the Yezdi Adventure, because it's a spitting image of the Himalayan, and from far off you actually cannot make out whether it's the Yezdi or the Himalayan. But at the same time, the Yezdi Adventure with its 334cc engine, the engine absolutely packs a punch. I mean, if you want to go long distances, cover long distances in a single day, the SD Adventure is really good in that department. You sit very comfortable, you sit tall on the motorcycle, there's good view of the road up ahead in front of you, and as far as broken roads, bad patches of roads are concerned, the SD Adventure, it just eats them up right away. And since it does have spoke wheels, you can take it beyond a mild off-road trail,
Yeah,
but
of course. Yeah.
with the weight you'll find it to be a struggle.
Yeah. In fact, on the first ride, the media ride of the Yezdi Adventure, we had done a really technical trail in Ambi Valley on 19 degrees 9 north. Is that the
Right,
place?
19 degrees north.
So
Yeah.
it's a really technical trail, lots of ups and downs, going through streams and all that. Thing that the Yezdi Adventure lacks is the low end tractability. The torque is slightly higher up in the revs, but if you keep the throttle open and you think of a line and point it, it does go across like nobody's business. And compared to the 411, it's got better highway manners. The Yezdi,
Sure.
the Himalayan 411, it's got better highway manners.
Easily
more top end
better
performance.
highway manners, better top end performance, and more importantly, it's a better handling machine than the Himalayan 411.
Correct. So pros, it's a true blue adventure bike, looks the part, and good touring ability, good highway manners, good handling, like Kingshuk mentioned. Cons, still slightly a heavy machine.
It is.
And of course, the lack of low end torque makes you feel that you need slightly more low end torque for off road work.
Right.
But the biggest con in this day and age would probably be that the 411 Royal Enfield has changed the game and discontinued it and brought in the Himalayan 450.
Right.
So
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Yeah.
and so, but still at that price point, the Yezdi Adventure is still something that is worth looking at. And compared to the Himalayan 450, maybe it's not so much compelling choice anymore.
Right.
But if you're on a budget, you're looking for a adventure bike in that segment, you should take a test ride and decide for yourself whether you like it or not.
So the Yezdi Adventure is priced around 2,15,000 to 2,20,000 rupees ex showroom, and the other drawback that I would like to add to Preetam's comments is the fact that Yezdi has a very limited sales and after sales network in India. So if you buy a Yezdi Adventure and if you manage to drop it, or if you want to get it repaired, serviced, so you'll have to look for a service center around you, and which will be a task because the network is not as widespread as that of the Royal Enfield. So that's another small con, but if you discount that, then yes, the Yezdi Adventure, if you want to look purely at mile munching, is a fantastic machine. Right, so after the Yezdi Adventure and the BMW G310 GS, we now move on to the KTMs, the KTM 390 Adventure range. It's been around for a while, and well, Preetam, you have ridden the motorcycles. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to ride one so far, but what do you think about the 390 Adventure range?
390 Adventure, first off, a disclaimer, Bajaj has not told me to talk very highly of the KTM 390 Adventure, but there's a misconception which I'd like to clear, and which is the high revving engine and the lack of suspension travel. People may talk about it a lot, and again, the first ride that we did was on a very technical trail. Um, if you're reluctant with a 390, it will disappoint you. The 390 Adventure is a bike which you cannot be reluctant with. You have to have some courage, some bravery, pin the throttle open. It will go over places you cannot imagine. So if you cross the threshold of bravery, then the 390 Adventure can really do stuff. And in fact, it has been my favorite adventure bike in that price point at that segment for a long time now, and still probably is. I'm just waiting for the next 390 Adventure to come.
Right.
So yeah, it's got a high revving engine, so lack of low end torque. So if you want to crawl, it's not the bike for you. You want to be reluctant over rocky things and trails and all, it's not the bike for you. You'll stall it, you won't enjoy it. Pin it open, gun it, it will go over most everything. Of course, the lack of suspension travel and all that is, you can't do jumps and all that. But hey, do you really want to jump that high up with an adventure bike? Get an enduro bike for that kind of stuff. For small kind of off-road stuff that you practically do on an everyday basis, the 390 Adventure is enough and more. And that engine, of course, has got fantastic power, fantastic performance. The only drawback which I feel is that, it's like a sporty, high revving, high strung engine. So you end up gunning it, changing gears. So it becomes a little bit of too much work. So
Right,
if
it's a lot more work.
So
Right.
it's not a relax bike. So you will have to be on the on the edge with the 390 Adventure, and then you'll enjoy it. So if you're thinking of relaxed cruising, then maybe you'll always want to downshift and then hit that surge of power, hit the power band.
Right.
That's what the 390 Adventure will egg you to do, and that becomes slightly tiring if you're on a multi-day long ride, because you don't really want to be always on the edge of your seat all the time. When you're doing long distance touring, you want to settle in, relax, cruising also, which the 390 Adventure isn't. But then again, it's got fantastic performance, and yeah, you can sit at 6th gear, 120 all day long.
Sure.
But off-road capability, despite what you see in the spec sheet, despite what people say about a high-strung engine, more torque in the higher revs, get some courage, get some bravery, pin the throttle open, it will really reward you. And of course, the 390 Adventure is getting the brand new engine and platform now.
Absolutely.
Later this year.
From the new generation 390 Duke, so it's going to get a revamped engine. The cycle parts will be updated as well, and yes, it's going to be much more capable because we have ridden the new gen 390 Duke, and if that engine is anything to go by, then all the issues that the current KTM 390 Adventure has in terms of engine, all of it will be gone away.
And plus, talk is that, what we've heard is that there are going to be 2 flavors of the new 390 generation Adventure, and one is going to be slightly more hardcore off-road based enduro type.
Enduro variant, yes.
So yeah, the KTM 390, the upcoming new KTM 390 Adventure is one adventure bike which is worth waiting for in our book. If you can wait, I think you should wait and see what it's all about and look at our reviews, and we'll talk all about it, of course, and then take a call on what you want to buy. But in the current scheme of things, what would be your favorite adventure bike?
Oh, and like if the Royal Enfield Himalayan is anything to go by, I don't think any adventure bike, even a segment above, beats the new Himalayan with the Sherpa 450 engine. because both of us have ridden the motorcycle enough. In fact, we recently added the Himalayan in our long-term fleet for the next few months, and that motorcycle, the dynamics, the weight distribution, the performance from the Sherpa 450 engine, oh, spot on. I mean, Preetam and I, we were riding the Himalayan 450 on the Madras International Circuit for our jury round for the Car and Bike Awards, and we were scraping the foot peg on a motorcycle with a 230 ground clearance
And 21-inch front wheel.
21-inch front wheel. I mean, the common consensus was the fact that any motorcycle with a 21-inch front wheel shouldn't be able to handle like that, and that's the truth. It's a fantastic handling machine. 41 mm Sherpa forks up front, beautifully balanced. I mean, I've ridden that motorcycle over like rocks, boulders, so to say. I've jumped it 4 feet in the air. Nothing scares that bike. I mean, that bike is so capable, but it has drawbacks as well.
Yeah, so in terms of capability, the Himalayan 450, the new Himalayan, if you've ridden the Himalayan 411, forget about it. There's no comparison, period. This
Absolutely
is a completely different animal altogether. Like Kingshuk said, balance is superb. The suspension is well sorted, chassis, fantastic. Whether you're riding off-road, going over boulders, like I said, you're power sliding out, everything about that bike in terms of dynamics is superb. On-road, off-road, fantastic. But I have a few problems with the bike.
No, absolutely, so do I.
Number one is the low end torque. If you go below 3000 RPM, then the engine just loses its steam. You have to downshift again to get into the power band, and the bandwidth starts from beyond 3000, 3500 RPM. So below 3000 it just suddenly seems like it's gone off to sleep, and then that's something which I don't like about the bike. And on the first ride in the mountains, I was really impressed with the engine. Great performance, superb. It just pulls, keeps going all the way. But when I rode it in the plains, I have a problem with the cruising speed of the Himalayan. Between 90 and 110, which is usually the speeds that any of us would do on a 400 kilometer long ride or a 200 kilometer long ride.
Yeah.
That's the kind of cruising speed. It's a comfortable cruising speed. You don't really cruise at 130 kilometers per hour all day long. That becomes very tiring, not to mention very risky. So 110 kilometers per hour is my comfortable cruising speed.
Right.
Between 95 and 110 or 90 to 110 is when the Himalayan 450's engine has a lot of buzz. And that buzz is, it can be ignored if you're riding it in a short while, but if you're doing 300 kilometers a day, that buzz will get to you after some time.
And the funny part is that if you go above 120, then the vibrations disappear. I don't know how Royal Enfield managed to do that, but that's how it is. Like if you go above 120, the vibrations completely flatten out. But between that sweet spot of 90 to 110, 115, 120, vibrations are there. It can be felt on the handlebar and the foot pegs, and after a point in time it becomes difficult to ignore them.
One more thing it has, which is not available in any other motorcycle right now, is the integrated Google Maps when you connect with your phone.
It's a fantastic
so you
feature.
get on the instrument console, you get like the way you see Google Maps on your phone, you get it, but it's got a drawback. It's got a big drawback. One is you can't lock your screen. You have to keep it open when you connect it to the instrument console. Secondly, your phone will drain out.
Oh, like how? Because I've tried that feature on, and the phone is on all the times, and if you start your ride with 100% battery on a phone, halfway into the ride you'll have to charge your phone again because the battery will be out.
When you say halfway to the ride, how many hours?
Say what, couple of hours at best.
Couple of hours, your battery is drained out.
Couple of hours, maybe 3 hours if you can stretch it.
Google Maps is a great talking point, but it has its big drawback because you lose juice on your phone if you use that all the time.
But then a workaround is there as well. The Himalayan does get USB charging points. You can keep the phone connected. So, but again, like the integration, while commendable and very useful, if somehow it could have been better managed in terms of affecting your battery performance on the phone, it could have been even better. And another a drawback that the Himalayan has, that while the performance is absolutely fantastic, the fit and finish at some places could have been better. Because on my last off-road ride with the Himalayan last weekend, I was going through a rocky patch of road and the rear number plate just came off.
There you go.
So that's one drawback that I would like
you
to
need
add.
to tighten up stuff.
Yes,
Yeah.
you need to do that on a regular basis if you're riding off-road. But if you can ignore these small issues, then the Himalayan, oh my God, it's a fantastic motorcycle to have.
So to put it simply, the pros of the Himalayan, the new Himalayan, far outweigh the cons, and that's why
100%.
it won the Adventure Bike of the Year this year at the 2024 Car and Bike Awards, and eventually it is the Car and Bike Motorcycle of the Year 2024.
Yes.
So despite its small drawbacks that we talked about, the Himalayan 450 is right now the best adventure bike that we can think of, under 5 lakhs.
Under 5 lakhs, under 4 lakhs, and I will say even like till 7-8 lakhs. If you want to, you can compare it with the likes of the Trident 660, the Tiger Sport 660 and the V-Strom 650 XT. The Himalayan has the chops to go up against 650cc bikes as well, and keep at pace, because that's how brilliant the Sherpa 450 engine is.
So that's it. Let us know what are your choices, or if you have any favorites, if you have any comments, whether you liked our view of the pros and cons of each bike, whether do you agree with them or not. Do let us know in the comments, and look out for the next one. And if you have any ideas, or if you want us to talk about any particular motorcycles that you think that we should talk about in detail, the whole idea of this podcast is that we can talk more in detail about the motorcycles, which we usually, for lack of time, cannot completely discuss between us on a review, so to speak. And so do let us know if you want any segment or any motorcycles, any flavor of motorcycles that you want us to talk about. And leave a comment. Let us know your thoughts about any bike that is your favorite, or any bike that you think deserves to be on this list. And thank you for watching. Always do wear a helmet, wear proper gear if you can, and do ride safe. Be safe on the road, please. Thank you so much.